Hello, cohort 1. Welcome to your final module of the year, module 4, where we are going to discuss how we are going to engage with families and communities. So in terms of our agenda, we're going to review how to create a welcoming and inclusive environment for our caregivers, strategies to establish effective communication, how we can provide opportunities for involvement in the classroom setting, fostering a sense of partnership, as well as bringing in community and cultural partners. We're going to get started by taking a view of a small clip of teachers sharing strategies on how to actually navigate caregivers in the classroom setting.
When it comes to parents, know that just like the students, parents are different. They have different beliefs, different expectations. When you're meeting with parents, come with an openness. You want to learn as much as you're teaching or receive as much information as you are giving.
The first year, I just kind of talked at parents, I think, more. And as I became a more seasoned educator, I wanted to know more about the kids. And I think that that's a really important time to be able to do that. And so having questions at that time that you can ask families to help you better understand your learners is a really good use of your time. It's so nice to be able to have the parents feel like they're a part of the process. And I feel like having them be able to come in with their concerns, as well as how they think they're like celebrating their kid as well, is really great.
For high school, typically you have a parent-teacher conference when something goes wrong, only when something goes wrong. They're not really a regular part of the school year. And so, when I had my first one, you're terrified because you feel like, oh, I've done something wrong. What have I done? But, I think the thing for new teachers, especially to understand, is the best way to prepare for them is to be proactive. So reach out to parents before things get to the point where you need to have a conference. Reach out with good news, be proactive, and try to prevent things from getting to the point where you need to have a sit-down parent conference.
So to me, family engagement is huge. And the way that I attack that isn't just in that very first parent-teacher conference. I make sure that over the summer, I'm reaching out with an email, introducing myself in terms of what my goals and my experiences have been in the past. Then from there, at the end of every unit, I make sure that I send a newsletter about the following unit with, again, the outcomes that are expected of each student. And then in those first few weeks of school, I'm making sure that anytime I get a good first impression of a student, I'm calling home and I'm having conversations with the parents about the things that I'm seeing are going well in my class. That way, when I get to that very first parent-teacher conference, it doesn't feel like we're meeting each other for the first time. And those parents really know what lens you're looking at the student through, which I think is a really powerful thing. And then maintaining that relationship with parents, I think, is really how you level up as a teacher, and making sure that you're not only communicating things that you want students to work on in terms of their weaknesses, but you're also communicating their strengths so that parents can continue to reinforce those at home.
Understand that parents make mistakes, teachers make mistakes. And as long as I'm honest, we're both sitting at that table wanting the same thing, the success of that student. And so there's nothing really to be afraid of, because you know that you're working towards what they also want. And if you keep it at that angle, if you always come with, well, I did this because I thought it would help them in this way, what can you suggest I do different? The parents are a lot more receptive.
When it comes to...
So as we take a look at our PD norms, I want you to really take time to reflect on which norm you would like to ground yourself in as we review this module in this session, considering that we are discussing how to engage effectively with our families as well as our community partners. Our objectives for this session are to understand the impact of building strong relationships with our families, also to recognize the benefits of including parents in the learning experiences for students, and finally, to review effective strategies to keep parents informed on what's taking place with their child in the classroom setting. In terms of our teacher preparation standards, core teaching practices we're reviewing during this session include talking about a student with parents or other caregivers, as well as learning about students' cultural, religious, family, intellectual, and personal experiences and resources for use and instruction. In regards to professional standards, today's session reviews strategic partnerships. Core module being assessed is going to be family and community partnerships. So all assignments and assessments tied to Module 4's learning is going to center around family and community partnerships. So now we're going to start off with creating a welcoming and inclusive environment and how to really provide quality customer service for our caregivers. So it's important for us to remember that as educators, we are truly servant leaders and we have customers, and the customers who we support, the customers we serve, are our students as well as our caregivers. And so at the top of our mind, we have to continuously be reflective and thoughtful about how we effectively engage with our parents so that they feel comfortable partnering with us in the work. So the first component is understanding your audience. Who exactly do you serve, right? What do we understand about the communities that our schools are nestled in? What do we recognize about the expectations that our parents, as well as our students, like what expectations do they have of us? How are those expectations tied to diversity or the culture of our parents within our community? We also have to recognize that there is sometimes an inherent tension between what parents may need from you as a teacher versus what parents want from you as a teacher. And so knowing that, we have to recognize, how do we create healthy boundaries in our interactions with parents? It's critical for us to understand the challenges as well as the obstacles that our caregivers face. Those challenges and obstacles really are the backdrop through which interactions with us take place. Sometimes we are hit with a slew of emotions that don't really have anything to do with us, but have more to do with the circumstances that our families are coming from. We also want to continuously be reflective, make sure that we're asking ourselves the question, am I addressing the needs of the people that I serve? So in our interactions, it's critical that we recognize we're three-dimensional beings, and so we want to spend time being genuine as well as authentic. So what does this look like? Well, it looks like you're keeping your promises, right? If we say, hey, we're going to call a parent back by the end of the day, no matter how late it gets, it means something that you actually contact that parent by the end of the day. When we keep our promises, that helps parents to see that, hey, I'm someone that you can rely on. You can depend on me. I am a man or a woman of my word. We always want to make sure that we express ourselves because, again, we have emotions. However, we want to do it in the most respectful way possible, no matter what the context or content of the conversation is. It's important that we're displaying empathy for our families and understanding, again, their challenges, as well as being slow to judgment, okay? Parents literally are doing the best they can with the information they have, with the experiences that they've had. And we have to recognize as educators that our parents may come from experiences that are very varied and different from our own. So we must be slow to pass judgment on a choice and decision that a parent makes and try to come from a framing of being more understanding. We also want to make sure that we're always engaging with warm and inviting language. And this should be the case no matter what the conversation is. And sometimes we have some high leverage conversations that must be had about the children we serve. It's important for us to always remain as positive and encouraging as possible during our conversations. We want to make sure we're focused on the partnership, like what can we do to get back to making the best decision for the child. We want to show understanding, and also recognize and respect cultural differences that come into play, particularly when we're engaging in conversations and interactions with parents. We also want to make sure that before we pick up the phone, send a text message, write an email, or a note or a letter home, that we're very, very clear on what's our goal in regards to this particular mode of communication or conversation. This is where scripting is really helpful and comes into play as well. Becoming an avid, active listener is going to support you not only in your relationships with parents, but also students, other faculty members, as a friend, as a family member. Active listening is always key. So what are some of the components of active listening? Well, paraphrasing is a great way to show someone that I'm actually paying attention to what you're saying, right? When we can give them a gist of what they just said, people feel like, wow, you really are hearing me. I feel heard, I feel seen. When I ask clarifying questions, right? When we ask people questions, it gives them opportunity to really elaborate on what they're thinking or to further explain how they're feeling. During conversations, no matter how high leverage they are, we want to be very mindful of our body language and keep it as positive as possible, right? Making sure we're not taking on a defensive posture, being aware of our facial expressions, right? Certain things very easily can take the conversation in a totally different direction we didn't want to go in, just based off of the receptiveness of how we're presenting ourselves during the conversation. We've discussed empathy and judgment, and so I'll move on to whether or not you should give advice. A lot of times when parents are speaking to us, they really are airing out frustrations. They may just want to be heard. And so we want to be mindful of listening, also being mindful of what's the goal of the conversation, even asking, hey, do you want me to just hear you right now? Are you expecting anything more from me? Being mindful of that space before we dive in deep to give a recommendation. And understand that sometimes listening is just enough, right? Sometimes there's going to be times where we're fixing problems and working together. There's going to be other times where we are engaging with our parents and just hearing them. And the fact that we took the time to hear them, again, leads to them perceiving us as trustworthy and reliable when it matters the most. So with the wonderful world of technology, there are multiple ways that we can incorporate visual and audio elements into our communication with parents, right? So again, providing our parents with resources. Are there certain podcasts that we can recommend parents to listen to so that they can get some tips on how to better support their child in the classroom setting? Also consider audio books, and this is an important component in terms of what we can send home, particularly if we're dealing with a community where maybe English isn't the primary language of the parent. Sometimes we're teaching in communities where the illiteracy rate among adults is high. In those particular cases, sending home audiobooks that are tied to the learning that students have are a great way to support parents with supporting the students with their home learning. Suggestions for music, whether it's music that students are going to utilize during homework. Is there music that we can actually incorporate into our newsletters that tie in with our themes and our units of study? So again, that's another audio element that's helpful and supportive. Are there particular videos that we can provide to our parents that's going to support them if they watch those videos to best support their child and what they're learning about? With a lot of our curricular programs, they have particular videos that we should be suggesting to parents, as well as links and sites. And so providing that information to parents is key. We want to make sure that in any sort of written communication that we provide a lot of images. Again, this is helpful for parents where English might not be the primary language. they can connect to that image and have an understanding of what we're discussing. That also helps people who are illiterate and are trying to get a sense of like, well, what exactly do these words mean? What do you want me to focus on? And then again, in terms of resources, are there certain social media tie connection resources that we can suggest for parents? Again, those sites that are going to help them best serve their child. Being understanding around diversity and inclusion is also key in working with the families that we serve, and also making sure there's some diversity in our resources. So how we engage with parents is not going to always be a phone call. Written communication isn't always the best, right? Maybe we need to send home a video. So that diversity and resources supports with every single parent feeling like, okay, I can engage with what they're talking about. Providing a space for parents to give input, and we'll discuss that a little bit later on. Flexibility in having access to you as a teacher, as well as supporting with getting on the same page with parents in our partnership. So now we're going to dive a little bit deeper into how to actually foster that sense of partnership and how we can, on purpose, create spaces for parents to really join hands in the work around their child being successful. So we dove a little bit into home learning earlier, and then here are some add-ons. Again, one of the benefits of the curricular programs that we have here, SFA, STEM scopes, I'll even say our health curriculum. Majority of our curriculums come with parent letters that you can send home before you start a unit of study with the students. It's giving the parents the information on what this unit is about, what is being taught to the students, what are students going to learn, and it gives parents activities and resources they can utilize to gain a better understanding of what they're learning about, as well as how they can support students at home. So we should highly consider sending those letters out and making that a focal point in your teaching next year. Also, making sure you're providing parents with specific times that they can contact you after school, right? That's when they're supporting students with their homework. So, hey, is it okay for me to contact you at 7 p.m.? Do you have a particular time where you've set some boundaries? We want to make sure that we are being very explicit with that in regards to parents, because that helps them to know how to engage with us, and continuously giving them the resources that they need to support their students. So this happens during like parent literacy nights, but as a teacher, you should continuously be directing parents to websites, printing off resources, even elements in the community, sending those things home. And now those are effective ways to support them and supporting our students in their home learning. In terms of, I'll say, cultivating the relationships that you're building with parents, always focus on sharing student success. This is also particularly important when you're engaging around a student who has challenges in the classroom. Everyone has a bright spot to their day. And so celebrating what a student is doing well helps to build the bridge to when we need to talk about some of the hard stuff. Remaining kind and professional, even when parents don't necessarily approach us in the same spirit. Again, a lot of those dynamics don't have anything to do with us, even though they might take it out on us. There's a whole nother element that parents are dealing with that are beyond our scope and understanding. And many times they don't feel comfortable being vulnerable enough to give us that information. That's another reason why we want to provide grace to parents and build a relationship to where they feel comfortable coming back to you and apologizing when, hey, maybe they snapped or their demeanor wasn't the best, and they'll be a little bit more open to letting you know what's going on. We also want to assume the best in regards to our parents and the approach that they're taking with their child. Again, that approach a lot of times is cultural. That approach may be grounded in this is all they know how to do. And so if we want to see something different from our parents, we have to understand that we're the difference makers. And then that's where we come in. We're providing them with other resources and support elements. We also want to show parents that we respect their input, right? So how are parents able to provide you with their perspective? And how are we modeling for parents our ability to take constructive feedback, right? Is there some sort of suggestion box that you post outside your classroom? Is it okay for parents to shoot you an email if they have a question or a concern, right? Whenever we're addressing those concerns, we want to keep the focus directly on the student. You don't want the focus to dive off into adults and how we feel about each other and who's respecting me, who's disrespecting me. Don't take it personal. How can we circle back to how can we work together to make sure that the needs of your child are being met? Because that's who I'm here to serve, right? As an educator. You always want to focus on trying to find common ground, even if you and the parent aren't in the same space or share the same opinion about a circumstance or situation that a student is involved in. Now we're going to look a little bit deeper into how we can establish effective communication channels with parents and really engage in multiple ways to support them in the classroom setting. We're going to start off with taking a look at some strategies and suggestions for how you can power up your parent communication.
Over 2 billion emails sent every day.
Oh, I believe it. In fact, I bet 1 billion of them are in my inbox right now from parents.
Well, I know how you feel, but it's great to have parents who are engaged.
True, but I just wish I had more time for each of them. Most of the time we're with students, teaching and not online.
What if I said there was a way to encourage even more parent involvement and avoid email overload?
Do you mean just unplug completely?
Actually, I'm talking about the opposite. When it comes to effective parent communication, it's all about answering parents' questions before they ask, plus keeping students in the loop.
That sounds amazing, but how would you do that?
Well, first, send out updates to everyone on a consistent, predictable basis.
Don't you think you'd get even more email replies, voicemails, or even drop-ins?
Actually, the more information you give parents, the less they have to wonder about. And getting students in the loop keeps them accountable.
Yeah, I bet any follow-ups you would get are bound to be more informed.
And more productive. Sometimes an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right?
Makes sense. But if you want students in the loop, is email really the best way?
That's why you've got to find a platform that meets both parents and students where they already are.
Some schools use an online platform with built-in messaging.
But don't be afraid to find a different, even more accessible option.
Well, what about using a class Facebook page or a Twitter feed?
Social media could work for some, but also think about reaching parents on mobile, like a school messaging app that sends out text reminders.
True. You've got to know your audience and think about equity if you're going to get the message out to everyone.
Some tools even have translation built in. Whatever you decide, figure out ways to keep students in the loop, even younger ones who aren't online as much.
Hey, speaking of, don't just include students, empower them to lead at least some of your parent-teacher communication.
And there are some great digital tools that help move the process out of kids' backpacks and into an online space.
It's a great way to shift some responsibility to students, and it gives them scaffolding they need to be successful.
There you go. 3 tips to power up your parent communication. Send out consistent, predictable updates to parents and students. Find a platform that meets everyone where they already are, and empower students to lead the process.
Those are actually really useful tips.
Want me to email them to you?
Sure. Make that 1,000,000,001.
Right. So, coming from the video, this concept of prioritizing communication, right? We want to make sure that we are starting off early with our parents, that we're updating them regularly. Really want to be proactive. Getting to a parent about a situation before a child does is critical because whoever they hear from first, that's where their tilt, their gaze is going to be. But when parents hear from us, whether it's positive or adjusting feedback, whether it's great news or sad news, that also helps to foster trust because they know, hey, if something's going on, this person's going to reach out to me first. And then also when parents reach out to us, we want to ensure that we are being responsive. Again, we want to vary our methods of communication. There are going to be certain parents where face-to-face verbal is best. Some parents are going to thrive with written communication. We have others where listening to certain elements or visually watching a video, those are going to be pieces that are going to be important. For your particular class, it's important for you to really, really think about what are the needs of your parents based off of their demographics and really being flexible, right? There are certain elements that we personally enjoy, right? You may be a great verbal communicator. You love verbal communication. But are you flexible enough to actually write down and send out a letter or email to parents? That's something that's important. We also want to make sure that we're leveraging school-wide events to communicate certain elements to parents, particularly around the classroom, and recognize the role that technology can really play now, right? There's multiple things that we can do with technology. We can get really, really fancy with the leverage of technology. So how can you navigate tech to get those messages out to parents, utilizing Translate to support those that have a different primary language. So again, varying our methods so that we're touching and reaching all of the people we serve. It also is important for our information to remain as clear and concise as possible. Again, make sure the framing is positive, really being mindful of the language we utilize, particularly in how we discuss a student and the student in the situations that they're in. Parents respond more quickly to personalized messages versus something that's continuously broadcast out and that's just general information for everyone. Making sure that we are mindful of communicating in the language of our parents, right? That's key. That shows that we're putting in a great deal of effort. And consider the time frame of your communication with parent. Is there a particular day of the week that's best? Is there a particular time of the day where you're going to reach the majority of your parents? So really being strategic with how and when we communicate is key. When parents reach out to us, we want to make sure that we're responding promptly, right? So responding to a parent in 24 hours or less is definitely a best practice. When we do respond, particularly in regards to a student issue, we really want to stick with the facts, right? Emotions and feelings are not necessarily facts. So stick with what exactly happened, right? If you made a certain decision around grading for a student or a consequence for a student, ensuring that we're sharing the rationale so that parents understand our thought process. We also want to leave room for parents to have emotions, right? Remember, you're always talking about someone's child. That is their precious treasure. Their child is their legacy. And so with some of the things we're going to communicate, parents may feel angry, they may be sad, they may be disappointed, may be extremely frustrated. So we got to leave room for those emotions to happen on the other end of receiving the message. Again, don't take it personal, right? Sometimes parents are going to lash out. They're going to say certain things. It really may not be about you. It just could really be about the situation that you're bringing to them. When something is our fault, which it will happen because, again, we're human, it is critical that we take ownership, right? Hey, I forgot to do something. I made a mistake. When you own things in front of parents, again, it builds that trust, right? At least they know that you take responsibility when you do something that you shouldn't have done and you're trying to make it right. Now we're going to spend some time talking about what it looks like to actually provide opportunities for parents to get involved and to make a difference in the classroom setting. I'm going to start off by taking a look at a video on how to support families in boosting student success.
Poverty plays a huge role in education. We at Educare believe that it's our purpose. It's not our job, it's our purpose to support the families and provide what's needed to help them overcome that so that they can focus on their child's education. Our two-gen program means the two-generational approach. It's not just the child, it's the family as a whole.
From the moment our family decides to enroll in our school, we really work with the family one-on-one to show that we care, to show that we're not trying to do for them, but we're trying to do with them, that we want them to grow, to find out what their desires are. What are their goals? How do they want to develop in life?
Our family support team provides different trainings and focus groups, webinars, and supports around financial fitness, health, and wellness and literacy.
We're always trying to help families break that cycle of poverty, to help our families kind of work through those obstacles and go to another level or find some sense of stability.
Jay, how are you? Good morning. You ready for school this morning?
Are you ready?
Troy is a parent that we've had for 3 years now. His daughter Jade is here. Troy is a single father. In the beginning, Troy was reserved. Once we continued to reach out and made that connection, you saw a change in Troy. He began to open up about what was needed and what his struggle was. And he didn't just want a handout. He wanted a path.
Anything I need, Miss Angie, she's always there for me. Miss Angie kind of leaned in my direction towards giving me support, giving me that extra. Okay, are you okay, Troy? You sure? Whatever you need, I got you. I'm here for you. So that love and that warm feeling of just being included, it's just deeper than just school. They care about you.
What we're going to do is have you at one of the stations. One of us will be there to help assist you, to support you.
We have parent engagement monthly in our classrooms.
We encourage our teachers to develop a parent engagement activity calendar, and there can be different activities that directly correlate to what's going on in the classroom and what's being learned in the classroom. The idea is to pull them in and not just leave them with the mindset that, hey, you're at school, let school do all the work. No, we want to involve you parents, come in the classroom and see what we're doing.
So that's another thing. We're always encouraging our parents and the children to do, to use those calming methods.
They can hear the teacher use that dialogue and use those techniques that they may have heard about.
It's important for us to be able to help the parents to know how they can teach their child at home. Troy has been a very attentive father. I think he sees those strategies and those things that we do with her here, and he does his best to do them with her.
I'm calm already. Oh my God, thank you.
When we give them the methods or the strategies on how to do it, well, they take it and they're like, oh, and they see it working. And they're like, I get it. I can do this. But they need the guidance and they need the support.
Our families are loving. Our families want the best for their kids and for themselves. Sometimes they don't know how to get to that point. And so that's why we're here to help them. And oftentimes our families will say, I want better for my child than what I have. And that's what we're doing every day.
So some of the different things that we can do is to offer our parents volunteer opportunities within the classroom setting, right? Really want to make sure that we are giving parents an opportunity to engage with students in the classroom, to really be a part of the activities that are taking place. And that also supports them in having a better understanding of how to help their child at home. Also, take into consideration, how can you support those parents who maybe due to their work schedule or due to health reasons, they can't come into the classroom? Was there anything that they can do to support you in preparing for learning? Can they cut up some different things at home and have the child bring them back in? So just thinking about like, how can you really engage all parents in supporting and volunteering within your respective classroom? Also consider how to involve parents in some decision-making components. At the end of the day, what parents truly care about is really just remaining informed about what is going on. And when there is a change, when there's something that happens, is there a mode of communication where they can actually provide feedback so that their voice can be heard? Providing space for parents to share their thoughts and feelings about a choice or decision that you made in regards to their children, it truly does matter. And when parents are providing their thoughts and opinions, even if you may not agree, What is important is that you utilize paraphrasing, again, that active listening, showing them that you're understanding their story and their thoughts and opinions on what is taking place. Consider also hosting family-centered events directly within your classroom. Again, this is a great way to get parents in class. So, we think of like field day. Well, field day doesn't just have to be about the students. Imagine how cool field day would be if it was like a parent versus student sort of event, right? Getting the parents really in there. When we invite parents into the classroom, it also gives parents an opportunity to network and to grow relationships with other parents within the class setting, right? This creates fun and more of like a fellowship experience, creates more of a positive classroom vibe and culture for your students. It gives parents an opportunity to really see the learning environment that their child is coming home, talking about every day. And again, with the parents seeing what's going on, seeing how you're teaching, it helps them to know, okay, this is how I can support my child back at home. Finally, we want to take a look at how to bring in community and cultural partners, right? How can we support in expanding those parent resources outside of the school setting? So when it comes to community organizations, and you can bring in all types of organizations directly into your classroom. Think about, again, the needs of your students, right? Do you have a higher population of homeless students? Do you have parents who are unemployed and maybe they need some help and support with employment? Do you have parents that are interested in getting their GED, right? So when you're assessing the needs of your students, assessing the need of your families, that's going to support you with like, okay, well, who in the community should I build a partnership with, right? And once you kind of have those community partners in your mind, reach out, right? Set up a classroom visit, have them come in so that they can meet and talk with your students, or consider creating some sort of parent night event where parents can come and engage with the community partner. You can also provide information in a newsletter, sending some links in there to support your parents with engaging more with a particular community partner that can support them with resources. Also providing information, social media links for parents so that they can get that information and research that community partner on their own. Now, when can you actually engage and involve a community organization? Well, everyone serves on a solutions team. So again, when your solutions team is considering events that you're going to put on for the school, those are great opportunities to bring in community partners to network with our families. During our parent night events that we're having so many times a month or so many times a quarter, this is a great opportunity to suggest community partners to come in. Sometimes we can actually take field trips to some of the spaces where our community partners are. And that also helps with parents getting a better understanding with what they offer in terms of support. And again, bringing that partner into the classroom and strategically setting up when parents can engage with the partner as well. All right. I hope this module and the information presented has been helpful. In regards to some next steps, please make sure you're taking time to complete your assignments and your assessments, as well as the survey. EDI newsletter is going to be coming out next week. Your EDI transcript for semester 1 has been shared for review. And best of luck to all of you as you're continuing your journey on taking your MTTC content area test. I look forward to hearing more about your progress. Take care. Again, I hope you've enjoyed this session, and please feel free to reach out if you need anything from me.